Well, we've got a good group that has joined us, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining the October 2022 VMware TAM Customer Webinar, where we've got a great team to help us dig into VMware's fairly recent vSphere Plus announcement. Part of that team will be joining a little bit later, but so far we've got Rashmi on here to lead us through this. But before I turn it over to her, let me just cover a couple of quick announcements. So one, please make use of the Q&A feature of Zoom to ask any questions. And if your question doesn't get addressed today, be sure to reach out to your TAM, ask them to follow up for you. Rashmi has asked that we save the questions to the end, as it's very likely that the demo she'll be doing will address many of those questions. So don't get alarmed if it feels like we're not getting to the questions. We will be reviewing those at the end. As you see on the welcome slide, our next webinar is going to be on a topic that I'm looking forward to learning more about. It's VMware Data Solutions, building a data platform with VMware. And so be sure and get registered for that session when your TAM sends out the invite. At the end of today's session, you will be prompted to fill out a simple 2-question survey related to the value you receive from this session, and also asking for any topic suggestions that you have for future sessions. So our goal in organizing this webinar each month is to create another avenue for you to receive value from being a TAM customer. And so your completion of the survey helps us understand how we're doing on hitting that mark and gives opportunity to do that even more effectively. So please take a minute to do that. Lastly, this webinar is being recorded. And then you may have noticed the QR code here on this intro slide. That will take you to the VMware TAM Services YouTube channel. We'd love to have you subscribe to that channel so you have easy access to the complete backlog of recordings going back several years now. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rashmi to introduce herself and to lead us through our session today.
Thanks, Andy. Hey everyone, I am Rashmi Hegde. I'm a product manager within the vSphere team at VMware. Today, I'm going to be talking about vSphere Plus, which is one of the latest offerings that we announced through VMware Explore. It's been live for the last couple of months, and it's essentially a multi-cloud workload platform that you can leverage for your on-premises workloads. You might have already, attended some VMware Explore sessions. You might have read about this or even watched demos or tried out our trial. But I'm going to assume that, most of you have no prior knowledge of vSphere Plus, so that I can start from scratch and set an even context with all of you. So let's get started. The highlights of what I'll be going through today include, a very simple introduction of what vSphere Plus is all about, what it offers. Then we'll dive a little deeper into the services that you have, that you can avail through vSphere Plus, and a topology of how your environment will look like. What are the processes and prerequisites at a high level that you'll need to fulfill to be able to use vSphere Plus. And then we'll go through a very detailed demo, post which, I can, answer any of the Q&As. But feel free to, keep posting your questions. I don't mind taking them as we go ahead in case, we have some break in between. But yeah, otherwise I'll address them in the end. Okay. So before we dive into what vSphere Plus is all about, I want to talk a little bit about what our IT infrastructure landscape looks like. What exactly are the trends that we seem to be setting, and where is the industry heading? Right. As an IT leader, you might have presence, of course, along with private cloud, you might also have presence in public cloud, or might at least be considering public cloud. So trends clearly say that public cloud over the next 4 years is going to tremendously increase, in fact, double in terms of millions of workloads. But at the same time, private cloud, even though at a much slower rate, is not far behind. So it looks like, even though customers are going to be, moving to public cloud at a very high rate, private cloud is still going to be in use. Right. On the right-hand side, there are some quick stats about, what exactly is the trend looking like for most of the organizations. Very obviously, 59%, if not more, enterprises want to reduce time and effort on technology investments that they'll be making. That's a very clear choice, especially if you are, going to be having a fragmented infrastructure across hybrid cloud, across multiple different platforms. You would want to save time that you spend in managing it. And then 90% of organizations by 2026 want to have some sort of container presence. This is quite interesting. It's not necessary that all of them are going to have all their applications on containers, but like a lot of you might already be considering, containers, Kubernetes is the next big thing, and it's there might be some sort of container presence in almost all organizations in a couple of years. And finally, 60% by 2025 want to fund line of business and IT projects through OpEx. And this aligns with the kind of shift that we have seen from CapEx, where OpEx is being understood a lot more, and we're able to see the benefits of what OpEx provides and how to leverage it to ensure that it's much cheaper and it's much easier to manage, as far as CapEx is concerned. Okay. So why exactly is private cloud continuing to grow in spite of such a pace of public cloud, right? Of course, this is common knowledge. A lot of you might know this better than me, but I still want to highlight this for reasons you'll know in just a couple of slides. But what we hear mostly from our customers is, the biggest reasons for staying on-prem include data-related topics, right? Be it data privacy, data security, data sovereignty, being able to, reach your government regulations, your customer standards, or your, organizational standards, and your market preferences. There might be reasons why you want to keep your data on premises. Along with that, there is the concept of data gravity, where, if your data ends up being on-prem, in order to make sure that you have, high performance and, low latency, you end up developing your apps on premises as well, to make sure you reach those performance levels. Along with that, of course, there is the advantage of predictable cost, where you buy these perpetual licenses, you set the CapEx budgets, and for the next 1, 3, 5 years, as long as you work within the boundaries of what you've bought, you don't have to worry about cost. So that's some of the primary reasons why we've seen on-prem continuing to grow. And at the same time, what exactly is the reason why cloud is, public cloud is growing at such a high rate, right? Obvious reasons, flexible consumption in comparison to what we saw with on-prem. You can pay as you go based on your demand, based on your usage, and you can, save quite a lot of cost, of course, if you plan it very carefully and make sure that you, scale accordingly. Along with that, of course, there are benefits of minimal maintenance and built-in resistance. This comes in obviously because with cloud, you just put in your applications, you set up your systems, and you don't have to worry about availability, reliability, recovery, all of which are just available to you on the fly. And you have to spend very little effort trying to maintain these because of all the infrastructure that's already set up and maintained underneath. And then there is also the advantage of developer agility, especially if you have developer or DevOps teams that are building applications and want to be able to self-service some of these some of the work that they're doing without having to interfere with US VI admins or your IT admins. Then the cloud services have a bunch of SaaS services available, especially for your modern AI ML workloads as well. And of course, manage from anywhere, the ability to access very easily, with the entire infrastructure set up just ready to use for you, is a huge benefit. So the reason I wanted to highlight the benefits of private versus public cloud is to bring in this point. What if you could have cloud benefits for your on-premises workloads? So essentially, what if you could have developer agility? What if you can use SaaS services for your applications, while at the same time making sure your data remains on-prem and it has all the benefits of on-premises, data privacy and security that you already have, right? What if you can get flexible consumption, pay as per your usage, while at the same time making sure your performance standards are met because you continue to have your workloads on-prem? Right? And what if you have assistance with your maintenance and built-in reliance? Well, at the same time, you don't lose your own control over it, right? So we believe this is, a great problem to solve and a great solution to have, and that is where vSphere Plus comes in. vSphere Plus is our latest offering, like I said, which delivers benefits of the cloud services to your on-premises workloads. There are three main avenues or areas through which you can leverage these benefits. Firstly, the ability to supercharge productivity with admin services. I'll talk a lot more about this, in detail later on, and you'll also get to see a demo. But at a high level, with vSphere Plus, you will have a central cloud console or a central management plane, which you can leverage to enhance your operational efficiency, to manage your inventory better. What that essentially means is, you get a singular cloud console for your entire infrastructure, a single pane of glass, so to say. Right, with a lot of admin services as well, SaaS services that will help your admins manage workloads much better. So if that's for admins, what's in it for developers? Of course, with vSphere Plus, we have bundled a bunch of, our, Tanzu services, which again, I'll talk about later, but through which you can have an enterprise-ready Kubernetes platform, which your developers can then self-service to use your, to be able to set up, containers without having to, disturb your VI admins, or even your VI admins don't have to, jump through loops of those skill gaps or talent gaps in order to set up Kubernetes or containers for your environments, right? And that's where the developer services that we provide with vSphere Plus will come in. And finally, you get to use all of this while you continue to use your on-premise workloads. While you continue to keep your workloads on premises and set it up through a bunch of very simple steps. Over time with customers who are already using this, we've seen that customers, can get started with this under an hour, set it up and get started and start using vSphere Plus in under an hour and without any disruption to your workloads, right? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what this environment looks like with vSphere Plus. All right, so if this is your, vSphere environment today, you have your vCenters here, it could be 1, 10, 100 vCenters that you might have with a bunch of ESXi hosts connected to it. And all of your applications, from traditional to modern to bare metal applications running across these, vCenters, right? Now, you could, the way you probably manage it today is through log into each vSphere client, monitor, configure, and manage them, troubleshoot issues separately, right? We do have stats that tell us that an average VI admin spends about 3 hours a day spending, 3 hours a day on, vCenters, spending time on monitoring, configuring, troubleshooting issues, and trying to basically manage the entire infrastructure, even if it's provisioning new resources. So this is what your current environment looks like. And with vSphere Plus, this is what is going to happen. So essentially, your entire on-premises infrastructure will continue to remain exactly the same. What's going to happen is there's going to be a cloud console that's going to be layered on top of your environment. And that's a single pane of glass, cloud console to manage your entire environment, inventory. And the SaaS services, value-added services, will be available through this cloud console. I will talk more about how to set it up, what exactly is the communication, you'll have to open and things like that. But at a high level, this is what it is, right? Centralized management for your inventory with the ability to use various different services with no changes to your current infrastructure. So let's dive deeper into some of the services that are available, right? To begin with, first of all, the admin services. Right? What do VI admins have in store through vSphere Plus? A bunch of items, beginning with the centralized management, which I think I've stressed enough, through cloud console to look at your entire inventory and manage it through a single place. Without having to set up ELM, without having to set up automation, you get to view and manage it through one singular portal. Along with that, we also have services to assist your vCenter lifecycle management through automation. So today you might spend about, let's say, an hour trying to upgrade a vCenter to the latest version. But with vSphere Plus, if you enable a one-click lifecycle management, you will be able to, just schedule your upgrades, and VMware will do those upgrades for you. Right. So that's basically how vCenter lifecycle management is going to work. Today, we cover vCenter, but we are, again, in works to cover ESXi lifecycle, which we know is a bigger pain point as well pretty soon. Along with that, we also have a feature to remediate configuration drift, where you get to decide, you get to define your desired state configuration through profiles in a very simple JSON format, and you will be able to compare them against different vCenters and figure out which vCenters have drifted, and decide whether you want to remediate them, how you want to fix them, what exactly are the changes you want to do, and monitor them, schedule compliance checks to monitor your environment from a desired state perspective. And finally, you'll also have, the ability to not only look at the single pane of glass, but at the same time use the alerts and security posture, which will tell you what are the top issues that you want to get to within your infrastructure. How exactly, your infrastructure, what exactly is the infrastructure health at this point? And also, be able to provision VMs anywhere within, your 10, 20 vCenters through a single workflow for VM creation. So that's a little bit more where we look at screenshots. I'm not going to spend too much time here because we have the demo for this. But at a high level, this is the single pane of glass that I spoke about, where you can see two vCenters. You can look at their status, you can look at the topology, how many clusters, VMs, hosts that those vCenters have. Are they connected to cloud, and what their current resource utilization looks like? And this is, one singular place from which, let's say you decide that you want to go into a particular vCenter and do more management, you'll be able to open the vCenter and directly connect to it from here. So a little bit more about some of the other features. We have infrastructure operations, where I spoke about, you can look at the health of your infrastructure, the alerts and events, and look at them across your infrastructure so that you know where to solve the problem, right? For example, you see that your environment has enabled SSH, or your environment has a roles and permissions based alert that you want to get to immediately. You don't have to, go into each particular vCenter to figure out where the issue is coming from, where exactly the security gap is. You will be able to do it through one singular view, after which you can just go fix it on your own. Right. And we are also, of course, working on the ability to fix some of these issues on the fly through vSphere Plus portal itself. And we also have the centralized capacity management ability, which is integrated with vRealize operations, where you get to know where are your resource shortfalls, understand how you want to manage your cluster and VM resources, be able to create them without having to do your own or set up your own infrastructure to analyze how to manage them. So that's about infrastructure operations. And then, like I said, configuration is another feature where you get to set your vCenters against a particular profile with all the definitions of how you want to, how you want your organizational standard to be set for that particular profile. And you will know on the fly how many vCenters are compliant, how many vCenters are not compliant, where exactly is the lack of compliance. Is it a critical configuration that has drifted, probably due to manual error, due to some automation change to fix an issue, and you can then bring it back into compliance as well. And finally, the lifecycle management, to be able to keep your latest, to be able to keep your vCenters on the latest version, and at this point do your vCenter upgrades through one-click lifecycle management. So there is also the feature of which was available with vSphere 8, which is RDU, or reduced downtime upgrade, through which we now make sure that about 5 minutes is the downtime that is expected when you make a vCenter upgrade. And this happens because we stand up a new vCenter with the latest version, and we only turn off the old version once the new vCenter is ready, and then just shift the connections to the new vCenter, through which the around 5 minutes is the expected downtime you can see. And with vSphere Plus, this is inbuilt, even though you're not on 8, right? Okay, so let's talk about the developer services next. So we spoke about what is available for admins. We have just, as many interesting services for developers as well, through which you get a Kubernetes platform ready with vSphere with Tanzu integration. And in fact, we don't have one, but 3 Tanzu integrations that's available with vSphere Plus, that's bundled together. So you don't have to, buy them separately. You don't have to, manage them separately, or, have another subscription upgrade for those. What essentially happens is with the developer services that are available, as an IT admin, all you have to do is set up the Kubernetes platform and give access to your developers, who can then go ahead and leverage, the various VM, storage, network services on their own. They can provision VMs and containers and build apps through APIs or through a separate portal that's meant specifically for developers, without bothering the IT admin, or without the IT admin having to do day-to-day operations, without having to, provision and set things up for your developers to deploy applications. So this is a little bit on what developer services are available. Like I said, we have the Tanzu Kubernetes Grid service over here, which is integrated within vSphere Plus. So if you know a little bit about Tanzu, we have a bunch of offerings, right, for various different use cases. One of them being Tanzu Standard Runtime, which is, through vSphere Plus, you will be able to go ahead and create a Kubernetes platform within your clusters on premises, right? It's not necessarily a vSphere Plus feature, but even on premises, you can make sure that you can build your, you can avail Tanzu capabilities directly. And that's what's, Tanzu Standard Runtime that's available with vSphere Plus. Along with that, we have, VMware Tanzu Mission Control as well, which is our multi-cloud Kubernetes platform. So for example, and that's a completely different portal specific to developers or DevOps teams, right? So as an IT admin, if you go ahead and just set up your, Tanzu Mission Control and give access to your developer teams, they can then bring in even AWS or GCP or Microsoft Azure containers, and just through a simple plugin mechanism, they can connect it to Tanzu Mission Control and manage it all along with vSphere with Tanzu clusters as part of the same platform. So that's the concept behind Tanzu Mission Control, multi-cloud Kubernetes management. And then, of course, your developers have declarative APIs to provision VMs, containers on their own once they get access to the Tanzu platform. So that's with developer services. So now let's talk a little bit about what is it takes to move to vSphere Plus, right? Now there are two, really crucial benefits with moving to vSphere Plus, not the benefits of using vSphere Plus, but just how you can start using it. And that's one, with the faster time to value. You don't have to lift and shift anything. You don't have to change your workloads or applications to get these cloud benefits, right? All you have to do is upgrade in place. Your vCenters and ESXi continue to remain on-prem. Your vCenter will connect via proxy to the cloud console. And through that is how the communication happens. And this can be set up just within an hour, like I said earlier. And ESXi hosts will not have to open any communication or do any new changes. Or of course, any of the other workloads are definitely not touched. And also you get faster time to value through the conversion to subscription. And that's because with vSphere Plus, you will hand in your perpetual licenses and the license keys, especially if you have multiple products. You'll probably be, you'll have your own license key management service, but you will be handing in these licenses and enable keyless entitlement, right? Where you will get to see your usage at any time. If you go over, if you go under, what exactly is the metering? There's a completely separate billing service as well. And you will be able to control this, much before, knowing what exactly is the issue that is increasing your, resources. So the other benefit, like I said earlier, is the, more value over time, right? Apart from all these benefits that I just spoke about, we also provide add-on services, right? Yeah, so we also provide add-on services, and VMware Cloud Disaster Recovery is something that we have already availed, and we have more like ransomware and a couple of others that are work in progress. But these are services that you probably already have on premises, right? Where you turn them on to make sure that you can protect your infrastructure, or improve their efficiency, or any of the other reasons. But with vSphere Plus, the workflows are integrated so that you can do this again through a single pane of glass, right? You can look at all your thousands of VMs together, select which ones you want to protect, and as I'll show in the demo, but select which ones you want to protect, and directly complete the workflow to turn on VMware Cloud Disaster Recovery for those. Right. And the best part about vSphere Plus is also the speed with which you will get these new features. Given that you will be connected to cloud, you can avail these SaaS services, their improvements, and in fact, new features within months. So at this point, we are in fact releasing features on a monthly basis. In comparison to your traditional vSphere, where you're probably used to seeing new features available every 6 months or so, and you'll have to make sure you get to the latest version to avail them. But with vSphere Plus, you don't have to do any of those because you're connected to cloud. So all of those features will directly be available on on the cloud platform for you to start using whenever they're ready. So this is a bit of a comparison between the subscription plus offerings and the perpetual offerings. just to give you an idea of, what exactly is the addition, what exactly is the benefits that you will be seeing. One thing to highlight here is, of course, the vSphere Plus subscription is especially if you have standalone vSphere environments. But if you have vSAN, if you have VCF, you have subscriptions that are specifically tailored for those products, so that you can make sure, you avail the subscription benefits of those products as well. So for example, now let's look at just vSphere Plus, right? If we have the vSphere Enterprise Plus, standard license you have today, and the vCenter server, along with which, you will install a gateway which will talk to your cloud environments. And that, along with the Tanzu standard runtime developer service that I spoke about earlier, will remain on-prem. But all the other services, through the gateway, you will be able to avail on the cloud portal, where you will see, the multi-cloud VC services, multi-VC services, because, it's a single pane of glass. And then there's the lifecycle management service, the TMC Essentials, which is the multi-cloud Kubernetes platform I spoke about, and a special developer portal just for the developers to be able to use and manage and provision and use governance over for the workloads that they are working on. So that is what you would get along with your current offering of within vSphere, in case you upgrade to vSphere Plus subscription. With vSAN Plus, the same bunch of items, but you will, of course, have the vSAN clusters also available as part of the same portal. And the same portal for all of this is same, right? It's the VMware cloud hosted on top of AWS. And you will be able to use all of them through the same portal, depending on which product you have. If you have VCF, you can move to VCF Plus, which will, in the same view, make sure that you have, SDDC managers, NSX, and vSAN, all of it through the same portal. And if you have a bunch of mixed mode sort of environment, you can avail different subscriptions for the different kinds of infrastructure that you have. Should you decide that you're not prepared for cloud at this point, and you want to continue to remain on-prem and have an air-gapped environment, you will get whatever is available on-prem as part of the subscription, right? But you will not be able to, of course, avail the cloud services. And it's a separate SKU. We call it the vSphere S, vSAN S, and VCF S subscriptions. Okay, so this is just a little bit on what it takes to set up vSphere Plus. It's not, of course, I'm not going to go into complete detail, but I do want to highlight this because, I heard that it would be good to go over the technical details of what is required as well. And I wanted to make sure I cover that should you be so inclined to know. From a process perspective, like I said earlier, you would require a proxy or a virtual appliance called the vCenter Cloud Gateway, which you will, install on premises within one of your vCenters. Now, that cloud gateway is what will talk to VMware Cloud. And your vCenter and multiple vCenters, how many ever you have and you want to connect, will talk to the cloud gateway alone. And of course, ESXi and all the other second-party products will have zero changes, and they will continue to remain, on-prem. So all of this, along with your cloud gateway, vCenter, and your rest of your environment will remain on-prem. And the cloud gateway is the one that will talk to, VMware Cloud. And you can, have multiple vCenters as part of the gateway. You can decide to have multiple gateways as well. All of that is unlimited based on your, performance and latency expectations. But we do support multiple vCenters, right? As part of a gateway, you can have at this point 4, but we are continuously working on increasing those limits to higher numbers. And what is the network settings you would have to change? The cloud gateway will only have to open an outbound 443 to 4 VMware Cloud URLs. But apart from that, there is no other change required, no inbound traffic required. But all that is required is this, outbound 443 for the cloud gateway to talk to cloud. And the vCenter, in order to talk to cloud gateway, will have to have HTTPS 443 open. But that is only for the cloud gateway, which again will continue to remain on-prem. So you don't have to, openly connect to cloud directly from your vCenter. And of course, rest of them, there is no internet connection required for anything else and no changes to be made as well. What data, this is a question I've heard quite often, so I wanted to highlight this. What is the data that we will collect or send to cloud? We will collect very minimal data, but a basic inventory data of your infrastructure to be able to provide some of those SaaS services that you will look at. Beginning with, your, vCenter and, and high-level SDDC manager sort of data, but your VM and host IP addresses will be masked, right? And of course, we'll collect, performance and, scale stats that will help us manage our services. Along with that, we will also probably collect some, product log bundles, which will, in fact, it's another, feature in the sense that it will help you. It's also, our effort towards reducing the number of support cases opened and the number of back and forth, that probably happen with support cases, whenever you face an issue, because we know that's a pain point that you currently face. Of course, from a compliance perspective, we have SOC 2, ISO, PSI, and a couple of others as well. And I can, after the call, I can share the detailed security document, if you want to go through more details of what we are compliant and what data, is being collected and things like that. And from a prerequisite perspective, all we ask is that your vCenter be on 7.0U3. Because that will help us provide all the services that we have built. So vCenter needs to be on 7.0U3. ESX can remain on the compatible version for that, which I believe is 6.5. And for VCF, it's VCF 4.5 that you can start with. But that's essentially what is required. All your second-party products, all your other settings, all of them, will continue to work the same way. Should you have VROP, should you have NSX, SRM, anything else, they will continue to be supported, and you don't have to make any changes over there. So this is pretty much what I had. What I will do is now I will move on to the demo. So let me just quickly stop sharing and start sharing again. So there are two parts to the demo. The first part is something that I will share from a video. Simply because, this is not something that I can reproduce in a live environment. And for the second part, I will share it via our live production environment. But in the first part, we look at how to set up vSphere Plus, right? How to download the cloud gateway, what exactly it takes, and why exactly, it takes just under an hour to get started. So let me start sharing.
Thank you, Susan. Let me show you how easy it is to connect your on-premises infrastructure to the cloud with vSphere Plus. Connecting your on-premises to vSphere Cloud, it is super simple. We're going to deploy a local cloud gateway appliance that provides this connection to a cloud account. Everything included from setup and configuration running through that single appliance. This local cloud gateway VM will act as a proxy between your on-premises infrastructure and the cloud. This will allow connections to be secure within your organization, but it also will secure communications going out through the internet to the cloud. Adding your on-premises vCenter, it is super simple by matching and making that connection between your cloud gateway and your VMware account on the cloud. This is now going to connect our private infrastructure to vSphere Plus. There's no requirement as far as certificates or extended service engagement requirement, or VPNs or the like. Those vSphere Plus organizations that have that entitlement would be selectable to you to pair your vCenter environment to it. This step is simply and easy selecting parts of your environment that you want to convert to SaaS management and subscription-based licenses. So as simple as just adding FQDN, username and password, you can add several vCenters, and there is no limit to it. We can add 10, 15, 200 vCenters to vSphere Plus, and then control everything from one single location. Then within vSphere Plus, you have a global inventory of everything you have to connect it, regardless where it lives. So now that we have registered our vCenter server, let's move.
Yeah. So what you looked at was the first couple of steps to get started with vSphere Plus. To be able to, you just have to download the cloud gateway, connect it to, the VMware cloud through an authentication, and then you can register as many vCenters as required. So let me move to the live environment. So this is, like Dave spoke about, this is an organization which has vSphere Plus access. So that would essentially mean, as an organization, depending on, how your teams work, you can have one or more organizations, and you can have vSphere Plus enabled through which you can launch the service, right? And this is basically VMware Cloud is centrally connected through something called a CSP, or the Cloud Service Portal, which means that, should you have other VMware Cloud services like VMware Cloud on AWS or VMware Cloud on Dell, you will be able to manage all of them through the same portal. Like, you don't have to go into different portals, different clients, different, management softwares to be able to do this. So this is vSphere Plus. This is, you can even today just go ahead and start a trial and try this for yourself, risk-free. We also have a hands-on lab through which you can attempt the entire process. But because I have access, let me go into the production environment. So this is the single pane of glass that I spoke about. You have the ability to look at all of your vCenters through the same view. And in this particular case, you can see some of your, VCF vCenters in combination with your on-premises vCenter servers, and you are able to manage all of them together. Right, you can see whether they are connected to cloud. Is it unreachable? Is there an issue? You can understand what exactly is the resource utilization, and you can, launch your vCenter directly from this particular location, should you want to go in and do more minute or granular management. So this is, the single pane of glass global inventory view. There is also the subscription page where you get to look at all your licenses today and decide how you want to convert them, right? Like I said earlier, once you register your vCenters and you come here into this view, you will be told to move these vCenters to subscription once you meet the required prerequisites, which is the version of 703. You will be able to subscribe these particular vCenters, and then basically, that's when your ticking subscription consumption starts, right? So this is where, you can look at what the license keys you have, understand which ones you have handed over, and look at the usage anytime to see where exactly your current, cores used stand. So this is another item that I probably missed highlighting, but with vSphere Plus subscription, the consumption is measured at a core level as opposed to the CPU socket level, you're probably used to until now. So that is what you can look at from this particular view. Moving on to infrastructure operations, you have these security issues that you can look at, currently aligned with the, vSphere hardening guide. And then there is also the top events that you probably want to understand and see which ones you want to troubleshoot. You can, depending on how your teams are built, you can drill down to one particular type of event and only be able to, and only understand which ones you want to manage, right? And basically see what are the issues that you want to address first versus what are the issues that are probably not relevant to you. And we're working towards building a lot more granular control over this and the ability to solve some of these problems from cloud itself. And I spoke about the security posture, and you can see what exactly are the issues, how many vCenters or how many hosts are affected by these issues, and how you want to deal with these particular vulnerabilities. So then there is the desired state configuration, which is it's something that we provided as a feature within vCenter from vSphere 7. But it's advanced a lot more in comparison to what is available on-prem today, which is basically you get to define your environmental, your organizational standards in the form of a profile, which is a JSON file, which you can extract from one of the vCenters that you have connected, or you can just upload as a file, especially if you have automation today that is being used to manage this, and assign vCenters that you want to compare against this particular profile. And then you can just get started with compliance checks. Right. So for example, this is a profile that's already been created. It has got one vCenter assigned to it, which it says is non-compliant. And the profile itself, looks like this, right? You can drill down the particular settings for the profile. You can look at what exactly the profile has defined. We are, working on the ability to, let you edit this as well on cloud. And or you can upload a new file with the latest configuration that you expect. And with a compliance check, you can then go ahead and see what exactly is the profile value, if the vCenter value is missing, different, and how exactly you want to deal with this, right? So that's basically, desired state configuration. It's read-only today, and we are working towards allowing the ability to remediate and also add cover a lot more settings, especially ESXi settings, cluster level settings through this quite soon. So this view that you're currently looking at is, vCenter level view, which you can arrive at from the inventory as well. You can look at the details, see, drill down exactly to understand what the state of this particular vCenter is, the events at the vCenter level. Let me go to a vCenter that has some of this. Yeah. And understand if this is a vCenter that you want to take some particular action on, if this has something critical that you want to look into, see the compliance standard for this particular vCenter. And also enable LCM for this vCenter, right? So this vCenter is up to date, but essentially in order to enable LCM, you would need to add in a bunch of network details, post which you can schedule upgrades, and you can come here to see the status of these upgrades. You can, if there's an issue, you can roll back easily as well. But that's basically the one-click lifecycle management capability. Along with this, there's also the virtual machines, which is a singular view of all your VMs, no matter how many 1,000, 10,000 VMs that you have across your infrastructure. And you get to create these VMs anywhere within your infrastructure through one singular workflow. Right. You don't have to go into each particular vCenter or set any automation for this. You can create either, locally through a template, or, you can start from scratch. Where we have t-shirt sizes, you can just define, or, we are also very soon releasing the ability to do it through an OVF template, should that be the, process you follow most often. And yeah, this is pretty much vSphere Plus at a high level. Like I said, a lot of add-on services, especially related to Tanzu, the ability to convert your traditional clusters into supervisory clusters to deploy Kubernetes on top, or, the ability to protect your VMs through VMware disaster recovery, or, the ability to, the capacity management workflow that you saw, and I also saw a question on that, but that's all work in progress, and that's it's not part of the roadmap. It's actually something that we'll be delivering quite soon, and that's why I also thought I will share details on that. But yes, this is pretty much what I had. Feel free to share your questions, and I can probably start answering them as well.
Yeah, I could help you with a couple of them here. So one, I think fairly easy one is, what happens if I'm not able to access the CSP? Can I still manage my vCenters from the outside?
That's a very good question. Yes, you can. So CSP is only for, to avail these add-on services, these SaaS services, and, manage them through a single pane of glass. But none of your access directly for your vCenters or any of your other workloads will not be taken away. Even if, this goes down, even if there is a connection issue with the gateway, you will still be able to use your on-premises workloads, and there'll be no disruption of service there.
Okay. What about the ability to interact with vSphere Plus, maybe through an API or scripting or something like that? Is there any exposure that way?
That's a good question again, but we don't have anything of that sort right now. And the reason for that is because this is, simply built on the same vCenter level APIs that you currently have access to. But that's, an open question that we still need to answer and get back on. But at this point, no API or scripting availability.
And there's a couple questions related to Skyline. So one asks how to compare, vSphere Plus and Skyline. I think they're kind of different, and then what about Skyline? Will it be integrated with CSP?
Yes, so there is work in progress to integrate Skyline with CSP. It will have its own, just like the rest of the services. It will have its own service that will be available to you, but I don't have enough details to exactly tell you what the features that will be available as part of vSphere Plus. But Skyline in general, will be a separate service within vSphere Plus.
Mm-hmm. And I think the question you referred to related to the capacity management dashboard, can you set your own rules or thresholds or things like that?
Yeah, so what is going to be available through the capacity management dashboard is the light version of vRealize operations integration. So you will be able to look at the status, and you will also be able to, upgrade to VROps should you want to, have advanced features and get started on VROps itself. But that's basically how the integration is going to work. I see Ajay has joined as well. So Ajay, if you want to answer some of these questions, feel free to.
Yeah. Hey guys, I work with Rashmi. I'm one of the product managers. I was trying to answer some of the questions in the Q&A section by typing, but yeah, feel free to ask here as well, and I'll add on to what Rashmi is saying.
Sounds good.
So a couple more there about access control. So how will access control work if we add all the vCenters to the CSP? Do we have separate ACL in place for CSP, or will it go with vCenter ACL?
Yeah, so it will go with vCenter ACL. So all of the privileges and permissions that you have set on premises within your vCenters will be honored. There'll be two ways in which this integration will work, right? One, if you have your own federated protocols, you can integrate that with CSP, and you can basically all of your vCenter privileges defined within that will be available through vSphere Plus as well. And anybody that can access a particular vCenter, manage a particular vCenter, create a particular VM within that vCenter will have the same level of permission to do that within vSphere Plus as well. And the other way is to add the CSP user that you would have created here within your vCenters, and those particular users then will be able to have the same level of access, within vSphere, within your vCenters and within VMware Cloud. But especially for our write operations, we are making sure that none of them would be possible without knowing what exactly are the privileges you have on-prem. So you don't have to define them separately. You just have to integrate them with what's already available.
Okay. A question about the collector. Do you need one per site? Or what do you recommend for if a customer has multiple locations with vCenters, physical locations?
What is the collector? I don't see the question.
So from Michelle, do you need an on-premise collector per each
Yeah,
site?
so I'll take that, Rashmi. So you don't need any collector. You just need a gateway appliance. One gateway right now supports 4 vCenter server connections, but we are making it to support 8 vCenter servers in near future. And we'll see if there is a use case to support more vCenters per gateway. But for now, it is one gateway which supports 4 vCenter servers. So there is no collector. There's only a proxy appliance that connects your on-premises to the cloud so that the traffic is enabled. So there's no collector required anywhere.
Okay. And if they had vCenters in different parts of the world, should they use the one collector up to 4 or?
Yeah, they can use, unless and until the 300 milliseconds latency is honored, it should work perfectly fine. If the latency is more due to the separate geographics, then we suggest or recommend to install another gateway appliance in that close to the vCenter server.
Okay. There's one about DSC. Does DSC have the ability to align ESX hosts to preset templates / firmware baselines set within our ESX host vendor tools, such as Dell OME, or is this strictly for vCenter host profiles and ESX level configuration?
Right now, yeah, go ahead, Rashmi.
Go ahead, Ajay. That's okay. I'll add to what you say.
Yeah, so right now we are only taking care of vCenter server. ESXi is next in line, so we're working on making ESXi lifecycle and other facilities available via the cloud services portal.
Yeah, and just adding on to that, right? If you attended the previous webinar, we spoke about the latest ESX level configuration and LCM that will be available on premises. We are working on integrating with the same services to be able to allow ESX level management. So ESX level configuration is definitely allowed, not host profiles, but you will be able to manage a firmware configuration as well to some extent, based on the templates that you would have set for those clusters. So it's going to be integrated in the same way, things will work on premises. It's not going to be something different, but it's going to be at a multi-vCenter level.
Good. And someone's asking just about how to access that CSP. Can that be accessed anywhere through the internet like AWS and Azure login? So I think the answer is yes, they're right. It's just console.cloud.vmware.com.
Yeah, you can access it from anywhere. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And a question about, I guess, documentation, links or blogs providing integration option from VMware on air to VMware within hyperscalers. So I think, I remember, Rashmi, one of your slides, you showed all the different public cloud offerings and the integration of those. And so I've seen a couple questions related to like VMware Cloud AWS and the Google Cloud Services and those things. And so I've seen a couple questions related to that. Maybe can you talk through that piece a little bit more about what kind of integration there is with those?
So is it integration with AWS and other public clouds and the like? I can give a high level idea of how the integration would work like, right? So today we support on-premises vCenters, VCF, and any vSAN related services, right? But very soon we are working on supporting all the VMware cloud services through the same portal. So, VMware Cloud on AWS, VMware Cloud on Dell, anything else, that is, your VMware Cloud service can be viewed through the same particular portal, and you can manage them. But as for, AWS, GCP, or any of your other public cloud offerings are concerned, at this point, I don't have a complete yes. We are working on that, but I am not sure when exactly we will deliver it, because we don't have a strict timeline for that.
Good, thanks. And can you talk about the differences here between vSphere Plus and Azure Arc?
They're actually quite similar, to be very honest with you. Azure Arc intends to, provide you that multi-cloud opportunity where, you can use the Azure platform to manage your vSphere, manage your other cloud services. And that is actually similar to what vSphere Plus is trying to do, right? But with vSphere Plus, we are starting with your on-premise service. So basically, if you have a complete, a huge dominated presence within your on-premises, that's where vSphere Plus plays a key role, because you don't have to make any lift and shift, make any configuration changes to get started. Whereas the cloud and everything else is probably a second step as far as vSphere Plus is concerned, where, with Azure Arc, it's exactly the opposite. So yeah.
And then related to packaging, I don't think you really talked about pricing. I don't think we'll probably do that here, but the packaging of this in general, is that per VCSA managed environment, or one single instance, or multiple appliances, or?
Yeah, it's at a core level. So you would essentially hand in your license keys with vSphere to move to vSphere Plus at a core level. And based on, how many cores you currently have, you will be able to purchase exactly, your purchase order will exactly contain that many number of cores. I don't want to get into the details of, the numbers, but, your entire vSphere Plus, infrastructure will be managed at a core consumption level. So if you, consume less cores, and if you consume more cores, you will be able to see that through the subscription view that I spoke about. And you will be able to, manage your resources accordingly. And, should you go overboard, there's overage, should you go under, you can manage your, your order accordingly. So that's basically how it works. But the major shift is the, movement from your CPU level licenses to your core level consumption.
Yeah, just to put it one more in a single line, it is the subscription is based on number of cores running in your ESXi.
Okay. What happens to vCenter licenses in that case? Anything different?
You can exchange your existing license to the subscription ones. You don't have the exact calculation how it will, replicate to the license, how much is depending. You can talk with or we can get help from the licensing team how it replicates the subscription model.
Okay.
Yeah, but you hand in all your licenses, right? It's going to be completely keyless entitlement. You don't have to have any license keys once you move to vSphere Plus for any of your products.
Good. Let's see. I don't know if you're seeing that last question that's up there. Management of views. What measures should take to place ensure compliance?
Yeah, from the compliance perspective, we are actually we have already done with the ISO certification. We have done SOC 1 and SOC 2 Type 2 certifications. We are actually training for FedRAMP certification in US, which is the highest level. And we are also looking at the independent country level certification, or EU or geographical certifications that are in process. So pretty soon we are working with our compliance team to get onboarded one by one all the services that are required by the customers in those specific regions. So that should be taken care of.
Perfect. All right, I think we've gotten to the bottom of the questions. Did you have any other content that you wanted to add, or about ready to put a bow on it?
I think we are good. I
Okay.
can share some of these resources. I can also share details for how to get started on the trial. So feel free to, go ahead, give it a shot yourself. We also have a hands-on lab where you don't have to, set anything up, just try things out on your own, and feel free to share your feedback anytime. Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks so much. This was a really useful presentation. And so we appreciate your time, and everyone that joined, thank you for doing that as well. Hopefully you got the value out of it you were expecting. As we mentioned at the beginning, this presentation was recorded, and your TAM will make that available to you, the link to that, or you can find it on that YouTube channel that we referenced earlier at the beginning as well. And we do ask you to join us next month when we'll be looking at the VMware data solutions. And so that'll be on November 17th, and hope to see you there. All right, thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys, have a nice day. Bye.
Bye-bye.